Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, John Jurkovic in the building. The good kid is back. Yerk, we're on to Arizona.
Thank heavens.
Thank God.
It's been a wonderful week. Unfortunately, I think some of the remnants of Washington are going to end up sticking around with us into Arizona, which is a little bit disheartening.
Yeah, it's one that is not going to easily be forgotten. I've said a couple of times this week, I think the Bears have to basically get 3 wins in a row to wash that Washington game away. You got to beat Arizona, you got to beat the Patriots, and then you have to find a way to beat the Packers at home. If you do that, that Packers is kind of a double win because you get the division win as well. Then you kind of start feeling like, okay, maybe they learned something from Washington. But starting this week, you're playing a very similar team. Offense is cooking over there in Arizona. They've got Kyler Murray over there, who is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL right now, one of your tougher matchups, and a defense that's so-so, but kind of has put it together the last couple of weeks.
So you got the Bears' strength, which is their defense, going up against the strength of Arizona, which is their offense. Similar quarterback to Jaden Daniels as far as the ability to move and get out of the pocket and buy himself some extra time.
Definitely not height.
Yeah. So, I mean, they got that. Then you've got a Bears offense that has struggled coming out of the box every single game.
Yeah.
They have not looked good early, but somehow grow into the game as the game goes on, going up against just a very average, below average defense for the Arizona Cardinals. So it's kind of a similar situation. It'll be a tight game, a close game. The Bears didn't force a turnover last week. Nobody got any chicken wings at Buffalo Wild Wings last week because the Bears couldn't force a turnover, and that's what this defense is going to have to do.
Yeah.
They're going to have to find a way to force some turnovers, whether they get to the quarterback. However it gets done, they've got to find a way to get it done. When I talk about the remnants of the game carrying over, Tyrique Stevenson, if they're going to suspend him for a play or not, what is it, symbolic? I don't get it.
Yeah.
To me, you put this game behind you. Whatever you've got to do, you do during the week. If you're going to discipline Tyrique Stevenson, you don't have to do something symbolic for the world to see on Sunday.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't do anything. Sometimes when you have a player's crew, great teams are led by players.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for sometimes. I got a lot of people that like to talk with the Chicago Bears. And a lot of people like to talk. Got a lot of people with thoughts and opinions. It's not always the best thing for a team. So, we don't want to hear as a member of the media, you don't want to hear all the common answers, all these answers, all that answers. You don't want to hear cliches or that. But sometimes the pendulum swings too far the other way.
Yeah.
And they offer and they share a little bit too much. As an athlete, as a former player, you're supposed to be a tight-knit family. You got too many people talking, you don't have that tight-knit family anymore. That's just the way it is. So I would caution the Chicago Bears from having loose lips because it seems like they're heading that direction.
Yeah.
Not saying they crossed over yet, but they're definitely heading in that direction.
I mean, listen, there was a lot of talk from the players openly questioning your coach's decisions fairly consistently this week. DJ Moore talked about the going for it or with the juggernaut down there as he's running the football, fumbling it off of the taped hands. We had Jalen Johnson talking about calling a timeout. Maybe we weren't ready there. You think one of your guys is dancing in the corner. It was a very, I'll say this, Yerk. I've never heard a coach openly questioned like that much in a single week in my life.
Yeah, like I said, too many loose lips.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
As a player on that team, you're my leaders, and you guys are talking too much.
Yeah.
So that's my thought as a former player on what I think is happening with the Chicago Bears. I think you got too many people willing to talk.
I love that you brought up
that includes 85 too.
Coleman definitely open and honest guy.
Yeah.
You brought up Tyrique Stevenson. We heard a report that Dan Wiederer said that from what he's hearing, he believes that Tyrique Stevenson will basically be benched to start this game. I would assume that means a drive, maybe a play, because you don't have enough depth with Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker not out there to say you can't play. That does nothing in your mind as a player
if I'm Tyrique Stevenson and they say to me, we're going to sit you, I'm going to say, don't sit me for a play, don't sit me for a drive, sit me for the game. If I'm Stevenson, and then you say, have you benched everybody else when they've made a mistake on the field? Has everybody on this team, when they dropped a pass, have they been benched? Has anybody who's made a mistake on this team been benched? If the answer is no, then I'd ask, what the hell are you guys doing? Don't be reactive to what people are saying about you. Stick to your guns and be who you are.
Is the benching more because he's not involved in the
I
play in
would
the beginning?
simply say, I don't believe I'm mentally ready to play this game because of your actions. And I'd say, go ahead and sit me for the whole game. If that's what you think you need to do, sit me for the game. I'll put my civilian clothes on. I'll watch from the sidelines. I'll learn my lesson. I'll be humbled. I'll pay attention. But it won't be one player a drive. You'd have to sit me for the whole game for me to learn my lesson.
That is how it felt to me. I'm not going to lie.
No, but that's
I literally was like, what does a play or a drive
If I'm a
do?
player, but that's my point. If I'm
Yeah.
the player and you go, you want to try to make an example out of me, make a real example out of me. Sit me for the game.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
It'd be
There you go. That's my thought.
It's
but
such
that's my thought to you if they're going to sit him
Yeah.
for a player for a series.
I think it's just such an
That's what I think.
It's such an interesting concept of like what really is the punishment. And listen, I will say this. They did the walkthrough Wednesday. I don't know if maybe that was where something happened. Flu said it was because they didn't have enough offensive linemen to run a legitimate practice. I don't know if you saw the injury report yesterday. Those same offensive linemen were still not there.
Yeah.
So you changed the walkthrough because of that. Why?
Well, you try to give everybody one extra day to get healthy.
Is that
That's what you tried to do? And again, we don't know if they got pads on.
Right.
Okay, it may not be a walkthrough. They may be moving at a little bit of quicker pace, but
Right.
it's not a walkthrough.
Right.
I also think they wanted the cameras on. I also think the coaches wanted to prove a little bit of a point. I think they reiterated that maybe loose lips douching ships, and they didn't want to have to do it in front of the media, so they called a walkthrough.
That's what I was going for.
So
I thought it was more of a coach's, hey, we're gonna have a real conversation out on this field.
You want something to say? Say it here.
Yeah.
Say it now.
That's where I was going.
Are you guys all working on your media futures? Is that what you're working on right now? Is everybody we could find a way to make your media future come to fruition real quick? Everybody want to work in the media after this?
Yeah.
We can make it happen for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. It's been an interesting week, but like you said, it's good to be on to Arizona.
You know,
There's an
and here's
opportunity
the thing.
here.
No matter what the coaches call, coaches never call anything that they think is going to fail or they think is going to put the team in a terrible situation.
Yeah.
I've never seen any coach do that intentionally. I've never seen that. At the end of the day, players win games and players lose games. Okay? It's funny when the players win, the players get all the credit in the world. When the players lose, everybody wants to go blame the coaching staff. Players win games and players lose games. And the great adage in the day was simply this, that they designed the play. It was open. The linebacker was sitting there. He was getting ready to tackle the running back. The running back made a great move, ran 7 yards for a touchdown. Was it the play design or was it the individual talent of the individual? It was the talent of the individual that made the linebacker miss that allowed him to get into the open field and get to the end zone.
Yeah.
Was it a great play design? No, it wasn't. Because the linebacker that was going to be unblocked was sitting in the hole. He's getting ready to go ahead and hammer the guy. But it was the tremendous individual skill that allowed that play to become a touchdown. When you win, players are the guys that make. Garrett Wilson yesterday, one-hand catch.
Amazing.
Right?
Amazing.
One-hand catch. I guess a shin equals 2 feet now. Instead of a knee equals 2 feet, I guess now it's a shin equals 2 feet. John Madden might have to go rewrite his book.
Did you see last week on Sunday, 2 foots do not equal a feet. Do not equal 2 feet.
2 individual feet.
2 individual
do not equal 2 separate feet.
Exactly.
Yes.
I did not know that because I saw. I think it was in the Denver game. It was a catch.
Yep.
1, 2, no touchdown. He's out of bounds in the back of the end zone.
Right, but the point is the individual skill.
Yes.
Okay, that throw goes up there. Aaron Rodgers allows this guy to make a play. The guy makes a play. Do you hear any coaches getting credit for that play design? No. Why not? Because it's the individual players that are making things happen.
Yeah.
So all this crap all week about Flus being to blame for anything that was happening, and everybody that wants to be a coach and all these coach killers that stand in line to try to kill Eberflus. Okay? When they win, the players get all the credit in the world. And when they lose, they don't want any blame. All the blame goes toward the coaching staff. Bullshit. That's bullshit. They ought to be ashamed of themselves is what they ought to be. Such a crock of shit. It's unbelievable.
I think what's interesting is, to me, I saw, and I'm one of the few people that have said this, I saw a lot of open receivers in the first 3 quarters of the game. I saw a lot of opportunity to make plays. I saw Caleb Williams have a bad game. And for some reason, it's hard for people to believe or understand that rookies have bad games. Rookies don't live up in the moment at times. And I saw Caleb Williams miss guys for the first 3 quarters. You know what changed in the fourth year? He started hitting them. Started hitting them in the hands.
Started pulling the trigger.
Receivers caught the football. All of a sudden, now you can go down and you can score the football and you're doing things consistently. You're running the ball well. I think it makes it, and listen, I do not co-sign Shane Waldron giving the football to a center on the one. I asked him yesterday, what's going on? What's the risk reward with making some of these specialty calls on the one here? But at the end of the day, we don't get to that moment if Caleb Williams isn't missing early. He had a bad game as well. And this game will be dictated on if Caleb Williams has a good game or a bad game.
Players.
Yeah.
That's it. Just players are the ones that make the plays. They don't make the plays. My whole point here today is that what I've seen out of the Bears this week has been shameful. Individual Bears players sitting there talking about this, well, we could have done this, we could have done that, stuff stays in house.
Yeah.
That doesn't go out into the public. And when it goes out into the public, you're wondering why. Yeah. Why is it going out into the public? So whatever I thought of this team going into the season, I'm starting to think lesser of individuals over the course of time because of the way they're handling themselves professionally. And that's shame. It's shame for them.
I think there was an adjustment made, and I do agree with you, because when we heard DJ Moore talk, you heard him say, right, he was going to give an answer, and then he's like, I got to think about what I say because we don't want to put everything out there. So I think that there was, like we said, with that.
I'm glad he's thinking that way, because the rest of them don't think that way at all.
Well, I think, a lot of these guys going right after the game, they go on the Monday morning before you have all of that.
Plenty of time.
You got to make that adjustment.
You train yourself. These guys aren't rookies in the league.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams sounds better than all of them do. Okay? He sounds more of a polished media individual than anybody else does, because he doesn't talk specifics. He speaks generalities. He talks around issues. He doesn't talk specific issues. That is a veteran, and maybe it's because he was in Los Angeles, maybe because at USC, but he is a much more polished individual with the media than some of these guys are. They think they are. They think they're fantastic. They think their crap doesn't stink. But I'm telling you, some of the stuff I see here is not good. It is not good.
Is it a sign of a lack of faith in their head coach now?
Who?
Is it a sign when you hear Jalen Johnson talk?
There's one guy that makes the decision on the head coach, and that's the general manager.
Yeah.
The GM, then up a president above him, because the president decides who the GM is going to be. So that's the way it goes on. The guy above him is the man upstairs, is Ryan Poles. He decides about him. Whether the players have faith or not doesn't make 3 craps of a difference. They've got to buy into the system. Okay, whatever the system is, you've got to buy into it. And then through communications throughout the year, you kind of hone the system into what it's going to be. But that comes with straight up communication between the coaches, position coaches, and the players. It doesn't come by making some media statements on Monday. That's not where it comes from. So at some point, Eberflus is going to have to get that in check, or ultimately these players with the loose lips will undermine the head coach.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's the law of diminishing returns. At some point, it goes too far. And rather than getting rid of 10 players, you've got to get rid of one coach. That's the way it ends up working. Are they doing that intentionally? That if that's what this team is doing intentionally, they won't win shit.
Yeah.
They won't win crap.
And I agree. I think that's
the way.
What we heard
that's
today,
the way it's going to be.
And it doesn't feel like it when we're in there, but what we heard, not today, when we heard this week, I was like, this is what it sounds like in a divisive locker room. This locker room doesn't feel divisive. I mean, it feels like everybody enjoys each other. Everybody enjoys their time together. They feel like a brotherhood on the field. But, like, I've never in my life heard a coach called out this much. And I mean, like, bad coaches. Like, even when Nagy was here, I didn't hear players talking this much about a coach's decision this week. And so it was very surprising as we try and move past that, Jurk, to this week. What do the Bears need to do to get the job done versus Arizona?
Well, I would like to see a little bit of a better start. I asked for that last week. That didn't happen.
10 points in the first quarter, the entire season.
I think the defense needs to continue to do what they're doing. I understand last week they were bending and they weren't breaking. Eventually, the time of possession came back to be somewhat even last week. This is a team that's dependent upon the turnover and getting extra possessions for their offense because the offense does struggle. Hopefully, at some point, they will become fluid. They'll become a wonderful offense. But you got a lot of money invested in your receivers and your tight end game. I mean, you got a lot of money invested there, and they're dependent upon the quarterback.
Yeah.
So hopefully the quarterback can be a little bit better and he can find his guys this week. So defensive turnovers, the pressure on the quarterback I thought was lackluster last week. They had a couple sacks. They had periods where they looked like they can get to the quarterback, but there's too much where they can't. Problem is with no Gordon, no Brisker. I know there's no Brisker for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know about Gordon.
He was both were DNP yesterday.
There you go.
We'll
so
see
no
what
Gordon,
happens.
No
Probably not making it this week.
So with no Gordon, no Brisker, they're your two best pass rushers. Edmonds doesn't really have a ton of pass rush skill coming in on the blitz through the middle. Either does TJ Edwards. So both of those guys, when they're the fifth man coming up the middle, you're basically just hoping that a running back misses them or somebody blows a block and then you get some pressure. You created some one-on-ones along the line of scrimmage. So your two best pass rushers off the corner, off the slot, are not in the game. Hicks came in last week on a blitz. He had Daniels rolling out to the right, went and dove for him, and then he did that little bunny hop where he got out of the tackle that Hicks was trying to make. So Hicks not as good as Gordon or Briscoe coming off the corner.
Are you telling me the backup's not as good as our starters?
Well, on the blitz.
On the blitz,
On the blitz. I mean, I think he's a pretty good cover guy.
He is.
I think he does a nice job covering, out there. I think with all your guys out there, the depth of the defensive backfield is the best on the team.
It's impressive.
You don't see any of that depth anywhere at any other position except at the defensive back position. And I think those guys just playing football out there, coverage skills, I think their coverage skills are great. As good or just a little bit below what the fellas and the starters give you.
Yeah.
So I have no complaints about that, but it's the other stuff that, the physicality of Brisker and Gordon, I don't know if they bring the same physicality.
Yeah.
And then coming off the corner in the blitz, I think those two guys are a little bit better coming off the corner in the blitz, but their coverage skills, I don't think anybody can argue with on this team.
Which offense is real to you, Yerk? Because I feel like a lot of Bears fans' faith was shaken based on the first three quarters of this game, when realistically speaking, you had 3 games in a row where the offense showed up pretty well. And then you had a fourth quarter where your rookie quarterback was able to lead you on back-to-back potential scoring drives. One, you hand it off to your backup center, fumble. The next one, come down, run the football in for a touchdown. Which version of this Bears offense do you think is sustainable?
Whatever was blocking whatever the Bears were doing offensively was broken with DeAndre Swift.
Yes.
So when Swift had that 50-yard, 5-yard touchdown, you kind of felt a big and a big relief, and then it allowed the offense to relax and allowed the offense to go after it. So what I think about this offense is I don't want to say woefully. This offense is wonderfully inconsistent.
Wonderfully inconsistent.
Yeah, wonderfully inconsistent, because when they do get it and they do turn it on,
it's on.
They do look fantastic.
Yeah.
But when they don't have it and they're making mistakes and they're,
which is usually the first and second quarter,
or they're giving up a sack, or they're in field goal position and then they're out of field position. And, they threw the left tackle into the Wolves last week. Yeah. But guess what? That's what happens in the NFL. You get thrown into the deep end of the pool, you better start swimming or at least floating, at the very least float. And, they threw the kid. Yeah. Well, they threw the kid in there, and you could see, and at about 7th play in the drive, he's winded.
Yeah.
He's done. You could stick a fork in him. You get sloppy in your technique. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. When you're tired, you do stupid things, which is why when they train the Navy SEALs out there, they get them exhausted. They make them stay up for 24 hours, which forces them to internalize and to think and to simplify everything down to its bare minimum. What's my bare minimum I need to do to survive? And when you get thrown in like that, so what's your bare minimum that you need to do? Operate with great technique.
Yeah.
You've got to operate with great technique. If you don't operate with great technique, you're going to make yourself vulnerable. And the left tackle made himself vulnerable because he was fatigued. He was tired. He got thrown into the fray. I'm sure his heart was racing a mile a minute because this is like your debut. I remember being out there the first time on a kickoff return against the Detroit Lions. My job was to block Nico Noga in 1991. Remember the great Nico Noga, Detroit Lions? He's running down 57. I got him. I set up on him, and what I do? Whiff. Whiff goes the native of Mexico, John Jurko. Just whiffed on him 100%. And then I got in against Indianapolis the next week, and Brian Baldinger, one of the Flying Baldinger brothers, was the center. And it was like a blur around me. It was just like, man, what in the hell is going on? It's so fast.
Yeah.
So that's what is happening to the kid. Yeah. So he needed that. Eventually the game's going to slow down for him. But without the benefit of a training camp, without the benefit of losing your legs, getting your legs back, without having that hardcore physical conditioning,
right,
and the hitting that you need to get your body to that sore level that you want, he didn't have any of that. And then he got thrown into the wolves.
Yeah.
And then guess what? There's no mercy for it. There's no mercy in the NFL for you because it's your rookie year and you didn't have training camp. And you didn't have anything. There's a big target on him.
Yeah.
Big, huge
attack.
Let's get him because the NFL, there's no mercy in the NFL. They're going to come at you. And if they know you're the easy way to get to the quarterback, here we come. They're probably on the sidelines. All trying to, who gets the short straw? The short straw gets to go against him because they know he's a rookie.
Yeah.
And they know he didn't have training camp. So, good, hooray for the kid. He went through it. He got through it. He almost killed the left guard. Who is our left guy?
That was Cody White.
Tevin
Jenkins out there.
He almost got Tevin Jenkins killed.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how he did it. Well, it was between Kramer. It was what is that called? Self-fire, not self-fire. When you end up shooting your own buddy.
Friendly fire.
Friendly fire between Kramer and this guy who the left tackle
Amagaji,
who got off the ball late, and the guy's all the way across from. Look where Amagaji's body is on that play. That Kramer, lost the fumble on.
Yeah,
he's like 3 yards in the backfield, to the side on the ground, rolling over because he just got raced. And in the process, poor Tevin Jenkins ended up getting the worst of it. He was bent over backwards, legs trapped. Oh boy, never a good scenario.
It's a very familiar feeling, unfortunately, with this offensive line. My biggest problem with Amagaji getting in that game is, why was that the first game? We've seen Braxton Jones get banged up a couple of times. They've opted to put Matt Pryor out there versus the Carolina Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
The pass rush where it's like, hey, maybe, put the kid out there. Let him see if he can do something. Let his first action be versus a pass rush that may not kill him.
Is Ryan Bates, sometimes you don't have the luxury of choosing what to do. Is Ryan Bates healthy?
Ryan Bates' 21-day window is opened. He has started practicing. He is currently listed as limited.
So it'll take time.
It will take time.
They traded for this guy, right? Ryan Bates. They signed him as a free agent. What happened?
Listen, I've been saying this the entire season. I went to just about every day of training camp. It's why I didn't see you for so long. When I sat there and walked away, and I am no offensive line expert, so maybe I will be proven wrong as the games go on. You know what he looked like to me? He looked like a backup right guard that had never played center. You traded a 4th round pick for him.
We'll see then.
I was very. I was not underwhelmed. I was not overwhelmed. I was whelmed.
Okay, I think they have their center for this year,
Coleman Sheldon.
Yeah, and the only reason I say that is they haven't had a QB exchange problem.
That is,
they have not had that. They were plagued with that last year.
So.
If anything, you can say the one thing this kid has been able to do is been able to come in here and he's get the snaps where they need to be, and they haven't had one shotgun snap issue this year, have you? None. Hasn't been a topic of conversation at all through the first, what do we have, 7 games?
We were snapping high all last year,
Yeah, all the issues, all the problems, did this, we did that. So your center position for this year has been settled. Now, the quality of what he is a different direction.
Spends a lot of time on the ground.
But he's done. Yeah, Tevin Jenkins is in that end. Who's the big, tall goofball?
Matt Pryor.
The guys that are going to play the
Darnell
most
Wright
this year are going to be your center and Darnell Wright.
Yeah.
Those are going to be the 2 guys that log the most time for you. And then whatever the right guard's going to give you. And I don't know, Braxton Jones, what's his?
Braxton Jones is DNP as well, Yerk. He is also hurt, and you have no left tackles at this point in the game.
Oh,
It is. So as we head into Arizona, Yerk, we are dealing with some offensive line issues.
I don't know. I don't know how bad the individuals are hurt. I don't know. So
And Wednesday was a walkthrough. That's the other thing too. Wednesday was an estimation of what they would have been.
This next comment might be taken a little bit crassly, but somebody at the left tackle position is going to have to let his balls drop and become a man and get out there not 100% and play the best game he possibly can at the left tackle position. So hopefully the dissension of the testicles happens in this game and somebody's got himself a full sack so he can get out there and play. I don't know who he's going to be, but whoever he is, thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
I would hope it's somebody because, listen, I keep getting killed for the –
well, it needs to be somebody.
I keep getting killed for my Braxton Jones dislike at the left tackle position, but I'm sorry that, I don't like my left tackles getting pushed back into my quarterback on a consistent basis. But I keep getting these PFF numbers sent to me that say he's one of the best left tackles in the game of football, Yerk. Top 10.
Not with the ice. Not with the icy.
That's just me. Yeah, so you would agree that we need an upgrade at that position.
He's lighting ass. I like my guys with the Howard Ballard like ass. You remember Howard Ballard from the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah.
2 axe handles wide. I mean, he took up some room. He had what they call a base. You tried to go through him. There's no go through him.
2 axe handles wide.
Oh, yeah. 2 axe handles.
Great tale.
Howard Ballard. Look at that. You look at his bottom. It's like, whoa.
What's your prediction for this game, good kid?
I got the Bears going out there and winning. I've got to, and because I've got to put the score down lower nowadays because the Bears can't score. I've got this one like a 1917.
Good year.
1917 Bears victory. That's where I have it. And the 17 will ride in what the Bears defense usually gives up.
Still haven't given up over 21 points.
Yeah.
Still have not given up over 21 points.
And you haven't found ways to win game. And, we're giving Caleb time because he needs time. He's a rookie quarterback, so he needs time. You see CJ Stroud struggle, right? Second year now without 2 of his wide receivers.
And all of a sudden, offensive line is banged up.
All of a sudden, things aren't as rosy down there either.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he doesn't look like the superstar everybody said he was going to be.
You
watch the first half of Aaron Rodgers, then you watch the second half of Aaron Rodgers. You ask yourself, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened? The second half team looked great. I always love it when the receiver drops the ball before he gets into the end zone. It's one of my favorite plays.
Why are we seeing that's the third time this year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't know if it's third time this year.
I think that's the third time this year.
Over the course of a lifetime, you see it. What possibly would make you stop or drop the ball at the goal line? Get in there, spike the ball, hold on to it. Give me some Billy White Shoes Johnson in the end zone. Do me a dance. Make a little love. Get down tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I find that to be ridiculous. But either way, second half Aaron Rodgers against first half Aaron Rodgers,
completely different guys.
2 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy thing about this league. That's why we love it.
It is a interesting league. It is a week by week league. And guess what? Half the people that are ready to run Matt Eberflus out of town, if the Bears come away with a win, they'll put their torches out.
And the other thing is, it's important for them to get to 6-3 before the schedule starts.
Oh, yes.
I will not put the Green Bay Packer game into any victory column ever until they beat
the Green Bay Packers.
So when you and I do the game before, who am I going to pick to win? The Green Bay Packers. Why? Because they beat them every year.
Yeah.
Every year, the Green Bay Packers beat the Chicago Bears. Why would I? Matter of fact, I'll put a 16 next to them if there's no buys. I will put a 16 next to the Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears. Why? Because the Chicago Bears don't beat the Green Bay Packers. That's it. Until you do it.
Yeah.
Until you do it, I don't believe you. I do not believe you at all.
Does it become mental? You played against Dallas a lot, had some up and downs.
It wasn't
with
mental.
them. Does it become
against
mental?
Dallas, for us, it wasn't mental. We're in games. Sometimes we're in games. Sometimes we weren't in games. Jason Garrett beat us on a Thanksgiving Day, throwing for 5 touchdowns. And all he did was drop back, hit his back foot, throw the ball up in the air. The Alvin Harper and Michael Urban, they came down with the catches. And when he wasn't hitting those two, he was hitting Jay Novacek. And when he wasn't hitting Jay Novacek, he was handing the ball to Emmitt Smith. And there you go.
Sometimes you just
and there you go. Sometimes we lost by a little. Sometimes we lost by a lot.
Yeah.
Either way, we lost all those games played down in Texas Stadium.
You never played one in Green Bay?
6 in a row. Never played one in Green Bay. Played one in Milwaukee. Played
Who's
one in
scheduling
Milwaukee.
that?
In 1991, we played one in Milwaukee. Well, remember, the playoff game is the team with the better record.
Right.
So they had the better record.
Oh,
So in
okay,
the playoffs,
So
we were always going down to them. One was a championship game. 2 were divisional games.
Yes.
So we lost those 3, and then one was a Thanksgiving game day, and then the other 2 were just regular season games.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, all the regular season games in Milwaukee or in Texas is nuts.
Yeah, 3 in a row. 3 in a row.
That's wild. Hey, well, you got us predicted for a win. Let's hope we can find a win. I would agree. I have this as a 24-17 Bears win. I think the offense gets back going. I believe that the offense that we saw over the past few weeks with Caleb Williams being comfortable and being able to attack the blitz is the real offense versus what we saw through 3 quarters, because it showed back up in the 4th. Mm-hmm. I do think you got to get DeAndre Swift involved. So I got to win. Yerk's got to win. Let's hope the Bears get a win, because if they don't, there's going to be some conversations, maybe from some of the players.
Well, I'm sure they're ready to talk.
As always, for the good kid, John Yurkovich, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bread Dine, one love. We'll see you Sunday. Peace.